Welcome everyone. Welcome back to the channel. It's been a long time, a very long time actually. But it is just difficult to get guests. I think I can't get people to join. Who I do get to join is, and usually I could point that way and say this guy joins. But now I'm on two streams, so it's that guy as well because things are different. Flynn, how have you been? I'm doing fine as always. It's great to have you back.
It's
It's
great to
been
be back.
it's been far too long. Okay. So we already have someone in chat, so I have to say na 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 now. How do you do, Kenthoven CPA? That's an inside joke. We both like a song from a Dutch duo from the 70s. So
Huh.
yeah, so we have a new thing going. If you're on a phone and you want to watch on your phone, there's a vertical stream as well. A link is in the description. If you're on the vertical show and think, hey, this is kind of a narrow thing on my computer, you can switch to the wider version with a link in that chat. So hopefully all will go well, and we will have a good show. So today, our guest, he's been on the channel twice already, where he's been talking to Cypher, and he probably will have another conversation with Cypher sometime in the near future, hopefully. But I wanna introduce our guest as well, Craig Swanson. Craig, how are you?
Yes, I'm doing well. Thank you.
Okay, can you do a quick introduction of yourself for people who haven't seen you, who you are, and then what do you believe, and the more important thing is why do you believe it? You don't have to give anything away so people can dox you. So don't have to share any private things, but just a brief introduction.
Okay. Well, I was raised by atheist parents. They weren't
Hmm.
mean. I don't mean it that way. They were actually pretty good people. And so was the whole family. And, my aunts and uncles were great. So I really grew up pretty happy, very happy childhood, actually. And of course, we had the books about evolution around, you've seen the one where it goes from the monkey all the way to the human, the Neanderthal and Peking man, all that involved in it. So I was raised believing that came from monkeys. So that's the only way I believe. And then I think you guys want to know about my Christianity, not necessarily my job or anything like that, but it's my Christianity. So
Yeah.
I was raised really just doing what I wanted to do for myself. That's how I lived. I did sports. I love sports. That was my life. And so and then I mean, so I went to church when I was 5 years old. I think it was a girl next door I suppose she just took me down to the corner, and we went to a church one day, and I walked home because I didn't like it. So,
Hmm.
any rate, and then I think the preacher lived across the street from that church, and I think his son invited me a couple times. So I went to church maybe as a 12-year-old and a 14-year-old. So that was my extent to church, other than maybe a wedding and things like that. So, anyway, but I didn't believe in any of it, none of it, for any reason, because it just sounded so false, and everything I believed was crazy. And then I had a guy come to me at where I worked at and gave me this pamphlet, which I know Cypher says it's just crazy, but yet it's still in the books today, pretty much. I don't know why he says it's false, because that Hovland guy
Oh
supposedly wrote it,
God,
and he's got a thing against Hovland, so which I've
Hovind.
only seen like one video of Hovland's, so
Ho,
yeah,
ho,
I know almost nothing
it's
about the guy.
Hovind.
yeah,
It's
ho,
Hovind.
I think
Huh?
the guy you mean is Hovind.
Oh, well, there you go,
Yeah,
Hovind.
you can
What's his first name?
blame
Ken?
him. You can blame Hovind for
Yeah.
being here, actually, because
Oh,
the
really?
only reason I'm on social media is Kent Hovind. That's why I
How about
started
that?
this. That's why I
Well,
started this channel.
fair. But at any rate, so the what the pamphlet said was that look, a lot of this evidence about these different, there's like maybe 10 of them in the lineup of the monkey to the band. And most of them aren't true. And now we find out Neanderthal man's really just a human. And I go on down the list of things that made me start thinking, well, wait a minute, that's a little bit strange. Why? How come they have like nothing on the Peking man? How come Neanderthal
It's not just
man is
strange.
just another human?
It's not just strange. It's terribly wrong too. There
Maybe.
are more.
I mean,
there are a lot
that's
more
your opinion,
than 10.
so.
But no, that's not an opinion. That's a fact. There are a lot more than 10 in the lineup to humans. And Neanderthal is not a human. Neanderthal is kind of a cousin of the human race. So he's not. Neanderthal isn't in the ancestry of humans. Humans and Neanderthals coexisted. Well,
Isn't it true that European people or people of European descent, they can
we have the Neanderthal. Yeah, we have Neanderthal DNA.
Neanderthal, and it's only black people who don't.
Yes. European people can have Neanderthal DNA because Neanderthals and humans interbred.
Interbred.
So a Neanderthal is not that far away from me. And then you have Neanderthal men, and you've got Homo heidelbergensis, and heidelbergensis was found in Heidelberg, which is my second hometown, basically. So
okay, now, so I understand that you believe that, but I'm just saying that you may or may not be right. That's all. I mean, you could be right, you could be wrong, because we really don't know. We weren't there. So
this is the problem with creationists. They say we really don't know, but we do know. For the exact same reason that when there's a murder, you can't say who killed someone, right? Because you weren't there. Well, you can say who killed someone because there's evidence leading up to a killer. The same thing is with our ancestors, and it's so. I think you accept the fact that you can do a DNA test in order to see whether or not you're actually the father of your children. Do you accept that?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Oh, I believe in science 100%.
Okay.
I don't necessarily believe on
exactly that same process will show you that you are related to the rest of the great apes, to the monkeys, all further down. I mean, that's the exact same process. And it's as accurate as telling you whether or not you're related to your children or to a cousin twice or three times removed. I mean, it is that accurate, and that's how we know. And that's on top of what we already knew from the fossil record. It's not you believe that. It's not that you believe that. You don't believe that 2 + 2 is 4. You know that 2 + 2 is 4. And you get that taught in school as well. And it's a fact. And for the exact same reasons.
Wow, that,
yeah, for the exact same reasons, all the other science is something that you can check for yourself. And you can see that it is a fact.
Isn't it true to say, and maybe I don't want to speak for Craig, but I remember, Craig, you and I have been back and forth on Twitter a little bit, not for a long time, but you and I have traded some barbs, and I came away from our conversations and from watching and listening to you on Peter's channel, speaking with Cypher. It isn't that you deny the science, you just don't believe its conclusions. That is, you accept
that's
the science,
exactly right.
You accept DNA, but for you, the biblical narrative outweighs the scientific narrative?
That's correct.
Okay.
Can I ask why?
Yeah, you said it perfectly. Yeah.
Can I ask why, Craig?
Well, um,
I think, can I interrupt for
okay.
a second? I'm
Well,
going to interrupt for one
sure,
second.
go right
I
ahead.
hate to do it, but I think Craig wasn't finished telling us why he is a Christian. That is how he became one. Where he left off was he came home from church that your friend took you to, and you didn't like it
No,
much,
it
and
worked.
it worked.
Well, yeah, that was when that's when I was a kid. I mean, when I was, and then I went, and then all that. I mean, I still hated church and wanted nothing to do with it. And then, I mean, the pastor's son invited me a couple of times when I was like 12 and 14, I think, and that was it. And I thought it was phony. And
Mhm.
so then, when I was like 20, I'm at work, and this guy brings me this Hovland thing. And what's it? There's a name for that little thing. I forget the name of it already.
It's
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 that
a
Oh,
little
a
chick.
cartoon
tract.
thing.
It was a
It's a
tract.
chick tract.
It was
Yeah,
a chick
yeah, chick
tract.
track. That's what it is. Yep,
Yeah.
chick track. That's right. That's what it's called. So, so I'm at work, and I'm like, that kind of makes a little bit of sense. And I said, okay, God, if you're real, take these warts off my hand. Okay. And I'm like, this isn't going to happen. And so anyway, so I prayed that way. I remember I was on the balcony where I worked at, and that was my prayer. It was a hot day. And I totally forgot I'd made that prayer. And I bet it was a month, maybe 2 months later, I looked at my hand and they are gone because I forgot about it. Because, I'm busy smoking pot and doing what I did as a kid, and all that stuff. So um, I just, and then I noticed they're gone. I'm thinking, well, now that's kind of weird. So anyway, so then the guy who gave me that track, he left where I work at, and one day I caught him up at the
Can I
local
ask?
store.
Can I ask you a
He invited
question?
me over.
Can I ask you why
Sure.
did you think that was weird?
What? What was
That
weird?
that they were
The
gone.
warts disappearing.
I mean,
Well,
that's a
because
it's
because
a
I prayed
natural.
and they were just gone. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a natural thing, right?
Yeah, I know they go. I know they. I'm sorry. I know they can go away on their own, but
Yeah.
still, that put it in my mind that I mean I had them since I was like 6, 7 years old, and now
Didn't
I'm
you wonder
20,
who?
and
Didn't
all
you
of a sudden,
wonder? Didn't you wonder who put them there in the first place?
not really. I mean, it's just part of
Why
life.
not? Well, isn't then disappearing is just part of life too. There's no reason to attribute a creator with having taken them away. If you're willing to admit, or admit is the wrong word, if you're willing just to say and believe that things happen naturally, at least on your hands, they do, then why would
Sure.
you why would you make the leap to thinking that and saying now that something supernatural happened in your with your hands that involved God taking these warts away? Shouldn't it be consistent? Either believe that God put them there and God put them away, or believe that God didn't put them there and didn't take them away. It seems like you're mixing and matching.
Well, I appreciate your logic there, but when you look at what the Bible says, even Jesus sometimes couldn't heal people because of their unbelief. So, I mean, almost everything, almost everything that you're logical about, there's almost always a logical, not logical, but an instance in the New Testament or the Old Testament where it doesn't necessarily agree with that. So
That's
even
the
Jesus had
problem.
those issues. So go ahead.
You've just stated the problem really nicely. That
Okay.
that you're willing to accept science, you're willing to accept logic, except for one thing that trumps them both, and that thing is the Bible, right?
Sure.
Or your belief.
Yep.
Do you
Hmm.
do you
Yep.
consult your faith for everything you do?
Um, I wouldn't say everything, but quite a bit.
How do
Yeah.
you decide whether to do it or not? Does it have to be something really serious, or
Yeah. I had a similar question. So if you're sick
That's a good
or
question.
ill, where do you go, Craig?
Well, I go to a doctor, of course. Hey, can
Why?
I finish the other story? Then I'll answer that
I don't know,
question.
but this is relevant to what you just said. Why do you go to a
Oh,
doctor?
okay. Well, because they can heal you.
But you just mentioned Jesus, and you said Jesus healed people, but Jesus thought that illnesses were caused by demons. I don't think that doctors drive out demons, right? You'd need to go to a church for that.
I don't think he said it. Yeah, but he didn't say it always was a demon.
He did, actually.
Not always.
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure I'm correct, but we'll leave it in the middle. But
yeah,
I mean,
okay.
Even if it's not always, then wouldn't your first idea be to go to a church and see whether or not it's a demon, and if that doesn't work, then go to a doctor?
I've never done that, but
exactly.
I mean, it's. Have you
exactly.
Have you ever read? But I know. Have you ever read 1 Corinthians 14?
I have read the Bible twice, but you'll have to refresh my memory.
Okay. Well, I'll try to do this as quick as I can. Chapter 12, he talks about concerning spiritual gifts, brethren. I don't want you to be ignorant. Then chapter 12, he talks about the workings of the church. Then chapter 13 is what they call the love chapter, because without love, all your spiritual gifts mean nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's what chapter 13 is about. Then chapter 14, he tells them about the Corinthians church, of how the workings of tongues works and how the workings of the Spirit work. Okay, so, but it says it within there that some people have the talent to heal, some people have the talent to speak in tongues, some have the talent to
the speaking in tongues
and so on. But there's like
the speaking in tongues, you know, that's a later interpolation that's not in the original text, right? You were aware of that?
I don't know what you mean by that.
Yeah, someone put it there at a later time. It wasn't in the original text. Which is why
I've just been reading books on.
Which is why a lot of churches don't hold to the speaking in tongues.
I've never heard that that's not a part of the original text, but.
Have you ever seen someone speaking in tongues live and in person, Craig?
I have, yeah.
I have too. My upbringing was almost diametrically opposed to yours. I was raised in a very religious household. Very, very, very religious. How religious? So religious that my mother kept a little holy water fount near our front doors, and every time we went out, she would bless us before we went out. We had a shrine to the Blessed Virgin Mary. Our living room, we had a big mirror in the living room, and it became a collection of palm fronds from Palm Sunday. So I grew up really believing, and I don't expect anyone to believe this, but it's true. When I was, at that age, when people ask you what you want to be when you grow up, I said that I wanted to be a priest, and I was asked why, and my answer was, it was a stupid answer, but I was, 4 years old. My answer was that I wanted to read every Bible in the world, and I figured being a priest would be a way to do that, as if there are more than one Bible, of course, but or there is more than one Bible, of course, but it was during that time. So I was in a very religious upbringing from when I was born until I was 12 or 13. And between 10 and 12, 10 and 13, I was held to prayer meetings because I was part of the prayer meetings were part of a branch of Catholicism known as the Charismatic Renewal, which is kind of like Pentecostalism meets Catholicism. And I remember being dragged to these meetings, and I was starting to not believe. And then what really put me over the top in terms of not believing is when people started to speak in tongues. And I just thought, these people are crazy. That's how I interpreted it as a child, and I still think they are. I think that there's something, I shouldn't say crazy, there's something psychological going on there that I think explains glossolalia, which is the technical term for it.
And if you check
psychological reasons,
if you check with scholars, it doesn't mean what they think it means. Speaking in tongues means that you can speak in different languages without knowing the language.
Right. Not a made up language with a lot
Yes,
of
because if
sounds
you
in
have
it.
two people speaking in tongues and one person says something, the other will never get what the first person said. If it was a real language, then they could talk to each other while speaking in tongues, and that never happens. But that's how it should be interpreted in the Bible. But I want to go back to something at the start. So you got the chick tract, and something in there convinced you that a God was real. What convinced you, Craig, that there was a God?
Nothing really. It was when I did that prayer, and it happened. Because I mean, I just thought, well, maybe some of that stuff is real, and so it just made my mind start thinking, although that church that I got invited to when I was older, they were speaking in tongues. Well, or were they? Maybe they weren't speaking in tongues, but they were shouting and hands up in the air and loud music and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of ran me off.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Sure.
So you had those warts, they disappeared, and then you just assumed that was because it didn't happen immediately. It took several weeks.
Well, I don't know if it did or not, because I forgot about him for,
Yes,
I think it was a month or two. But
a month or two.
That's many years ago, but it seemed like it was a long time. Yeah.
So wouldn't it be more reasonable to say that if it actually was God, that they would have disappeared immediately, not 2 months later? Or does God have a to-do list where you just ended up on the bottom? I mean, I'm curious how this convinced you, because that they can go away by themselves. You knew that. And the fact that
I do now. I didn't know that then, but I do now.
Okay. But it didn't happen immediately. It took several months. So
well, see, I don't know that. It could have happened at that second, because I never even thought about it for a month or two.
Okay, I'll grant
and then
you
I
that.
And then I looked at my hand. Then I looked at my hand. I'm like, hey, where'd they go?
Okay,
so that's how that went with me. So I mean, right or wrong, I mean, who knows what's real? But that's my experience. So
okay, but so what did you do to figure out what had happened? Whether or not there was some divine intervention, or whether or not it was something just purely natural.
I didn't do anything. I just looked at my hand and they were gone. I mean, what else are you going to do? I mean, there's not even any scars of them. I mean, I had them up my fingers, and
you didn't drop to your knees and thank God.
No, I think I'm I don't, like I said, I was a sports guy, so I didn't think about a lot of stuff, but I'm like, wow, that is really cool. Them babies are gone. I mean, I don't know how to think about it, but it just made me start thinking maybe there is a God, that's all. And there's a lot of people that live down the street from me that used to pack that church and think that there was a God. So that made me start thinking. And then this is going to sound stupid to you, but I went through high school, and I'm going to say that I could read, and I had straight A's in math and those kind of things. And I was a very good listener, so I could pass all my courses with, C's, B's, and A's. But I probably had a third grade comprehension level in reading. So I get this Bible and I'm looking at it, I'm like, what in the world is this? And I came across a book called Proverbs, which is just about it's like reading the single funny papers. It just has just a single caption underneath. It was like reading that, so I could actually understand. I might have to read it 3 times, but at least I can understand it.
Can I ask which version?
That's kind of how I got started in it.
Can I ask which version you got?
Oh yeah, it was even worse. The King James. That was even worse.
Ah, okay.
The good old King James.
Yes.
Oh, and I'm sure glad it wasn't the original King James, because the original King James was written in like 1610, and it was way off the mark. But the one I was reading probably was redone in like in the 1800s, which is still hard to understand. So, and I don't like it. Now I read what they call the International Children's Bible.
Huh.
So,
International Children's Bible.
yeah,
Okay,
I have to
you
ask.
get it on
I'm
your
going
phone.
to.
It's really
I'm,
cool.
I am going to be cheeky because I really want to know, is Songs of Solomon in there?
Sure. Oh, it's the okay. So this you may not know, but all
Yeah,
the
do you know why I'm
original
asking?
scriptures.
Do you know why I'm asking?
Oh, because it's sexual.
It's basically pornography.
Because it's
Yes,
sexual.
yes.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's in there.
That is, and see, to me that is weird because in America you can't show anything. You can't show a man's nipple on TV. You can't show a woman's nipple on TV. But you have a children's Bible full of porn, and that's okay.
Yeah,
It's metaphorical porn though, Peter. So that makes it okay.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah. I wouldn't call it porn in the type of porn the way you're thinking of it. I don't think, but I mean,
well,
I never thought of it as porn when I read it. So
well, I mean,
That's
um,
that's why the Bible is best read by adults.
but
yeah, I
you know
mean,
what?
is
I think I
Ezekiel 23:19-20 in there?
well, I can look. I meant they don't hide anything. See,
If you
there's
have
about
it handy, can you read Ezekiel 23:19 to 19 and 20?
sure.
Because I'm
Yeah.
really curious what it says.
23, 19, and 20.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it should start right at 19. So we won't. I don't know what's coming up to this, but she remembered how she just wait a minute. But she remembered how she was a young prostitute in Egypt. So she took part in even more prostitution. She wanted men who behaved like animals in their sexual desire.
Oh, the King James is so much more colorful.
Yeah, I mean, there isn't the part
Yeah,
where she
I'm
lusted.
just gonna read it. I'm just gonna read it, Peter, and then you can comment.
Mm-hmm.
Yet she, and the sense is the same, but something gets left out of the children's. See if you can figure out what. Verse 19, 23:19. Yet she multiplied her whoredoms in calling to remembrance the days of her youth, wherein she had played the harlot in the land of Egypt. For she doted upon their paramours, whose flesh is as the flesh of asses, and whose issue, and issue here means ejaculate, whose issue is like the issue of horses. So
Yeah.
she's basically saying she's into big cocks that shoot big loads.
The version that I have is she lusted after her lovers whose genitals were like those of donkeys and whose emission was like that of horses. I mean,
Yeah.
having that in
That's
a
interesting. Yeah.
having that in a children's book, I'm not entirely sure, but it to me it's just kind of weird. They want all kinds of books banned in schools, but this is allowed, which
The Bible has been taken out of some school libraries in the United States, Peter. I don't know if you know that, but it
yeah.
has been. It hasn't been a large scale thing, but it has happened that parent teacher boards, or however they do it, heard the petition that basically laid out the dirty parts of the Bible, and they said we can't keep the Bible in the library anymore. So it is happening, just not on a wide scale.
Well, I also read the NASB Bible, and it talks about the paramount. So it says it exactly. So let me go back to
The
what it says
paramour, you
again.
mean?
Okay, but
Whatever it is, yeah.
Yeah, I was just curious.
Say whatever it is about the Bible, Craig.
Well, let me read what I didn't pay that much attention. So it says she lusts after their paramours. That's paramours, whose flesh is like the flesh of donkeys, and whose issue is like the issue of horses.
No, that's
So that's
pretty
the
much
NASB.
that's
pretty
almost
much what
identical to the King
yeah.
James.
Yeah. Yeah, this one kind of leaves that out, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, it's for children.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
a lot. There's a lot that I wouldn't bother children with.
It's
I mean, there's a lot of genocide. There's a lot of
well, I do read
killing.
both. Yeah.
So I don't think.
Yeah. No, there's no doubt. I mean,
I don't think the Bible is a book for children. Which I would be in favor of leaving children out of all of this until they reach adulthood, and then give them the Bible to read. But I'm pretty sure that would kill off religion entirely.
Hmm.
But
Are your kids religious, Craig?
yeah, all but one.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
got 5 kids.
Ooh,
that is
your
I mean, he believes in
repopulation's
God and all that stuff, but he doesn't want to. He wants nothing to do with it. So
right.
okay.
I
So
wonder
now,
what it is in him that made him go a different direction from you and his siblings.
that's a good question. Yeah, we've talked about a lot. We don't know. He's just got some anger at the church and things like that. So I mean, he believes in God and all that. So he believes he's a forgiving God. I mean, but sometimes when people do things to you, you get, you just it's hard to forgive. And plus, he'd rather just do his own thing, and I get it. So
What
but
was
I mean, I would too. I'd rather do my own thing. So
you said he wasn't religious, and then you said he still believes in God.
yeah.
oh yeah, that doesn't mean you go to church or anything like that. But I mean, I guess if you want to say that he believes in Jesus, sure, he does all that. He prefers not to because he thinks that it stymies his lifestyle. I guess maybe the only way I could explain it. But that said, he's got 5 kids, and they're all doing their own thing, and we love them, and they come. I mean, we get along great, so that's not an issue.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
Do you worry? Do you
whatever.
worry? Do you worry what will happen to him after he dies?
Sure. Yeah.
Because this is one of the
Worry about
things
that.
that I will never get from people being religious. So they all think that when they die, they will go to heaven, and that will be the greatest place ever. But if you are there, knowing that some of your loved ones aren't coming, how happy will you be? And I'm not saying that you will say the same thing, but a lot of people will say, "Well, yes, they chose their fate, and there's nothing we can do, and we will still be happy and rejoicing every day." So if I knew one of my loved ones was going to be tortured for eternity, I could never be happy anywhere. Not even in a place like heaven, as it's been described to me by Christian.
The thing is that Craig's God doesn't punish people. Craig's God is forgiving, right, Craig?
That's true.
So is there a hell?
That's a good question, and I hear there's a lot of different beliefs on that. So there's a because I can see that a lot of people that if there is a hell, that's like a non-starter because they want nothing to do with a God who would send somebody to a place called hell where there's hellfire and brimstone. So there's a pretty good case to be made that hell is a place without God. And I don't really want to get into all the specifics on it, but I mean, it's just that a separation from God, just like when I mean, a part of that study is that when Adam and Eve were kicked out of the Garden of Eden, that's really a separation from God. So that's a type of hell. So as far as are they going to burn all their life, and I don't know. So, I mean, there's a study that says that's not true. So it's hard to say.
Well, I'm separated from God,
The
which
verdict
means
is out.
I'm in hell right now, and I'm quite enjoying it, I have to say.
Sure. I know.
And
Well,
you must be here with me if we're talking.
oh
Uh-oh.
yeah. Well, no, but you're misunderstanding. I mean, your response right there
No, I know what you mean.
does not connect with what I was saying. So, but I mean, that's fun. I like to joke more than you do, so be careful because you get me
Oh,
started, and
I don't
and my
know.
wife will say my wife will say I joke too much. So be careful. Don't get me started.
I
Me
I
too.
I always think that's a
Okay.
good thing.
All right.
Having a decent sense of humor is a good thing, and you shouldn't fault people for that.
Can we back up just a little bit? Because
Sure.
Craig, you said something about your son that about church church or religion, not how did you put it? You made it sound as though something had happened, and if it's something serious, then or you're breaking confidences, then don't answer it. But you what I took away is that you're saying that something happened to your son in relation to the church that made him not believe, at least in going to church anymore. What was that event, if you can say? Or did I misunderstand?
Well, first of all, I'm not Catholic, so I wasn't a priest.
Oh, sorry, yeah, minister, whatever.
Yeah, no, none of that. So it just that he thought that we made like we didn't we tried to keep the kids off the television set, and we tried to raise them, you know, doing their studies and all this kind of stuff instead of going out and playing all the time. Which and I agree with that we did wrong, and we should never have done that because um, our kids probably would have been pretty good athletically, and we kind of prevented them from doing that. So I think that was kind of the thing. It's just that he didn't get to do a lot of the stuff that other kids got to do.
Right.
In a nutshell, I think that's what it was. And we've apologized for all that stuff because we think we did wrong. But at that time the churches were more, protect your kid, and so that kind of stuff's gone away. So yeah,
Okay.
and that's my opinion. And then he says that too. I mean that's one of his things that he's pretty upset about.
How old was he when
But he's
he
doing well
turned?
now. I mean, away from God.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Probably, I would say around 19, 18, probably
Okay,
about the
so it's
time high
late
school.
late teens. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, like something like that. I mean, he'd still come to church with us and things like that when he lived with us and all that. But yeah.
I know all about going to church when you don't believe anymore. Trust me.
Yeah, yeah. It can be tough. I mean, I agree. So, yep. So anyway, to go along with the believing thing, so I started reading the Bible. It just seemed like it spoke to me. And then to go past that, I had a football injury, and every year my knee kept getting worse and worse and worse. And the church I went to in the book of James, it talks about go to the elder of the church, anoint your head with oil, and pray for you, and you will be healed. So I did that. And I can remember some of the old ladies in church would yell and scream when they'd get healed and things like that. So I thought, that's not me. I
Hmm.
don't care how old I am. That's not me. I'm never going to do something like that. But I'm not. So I sat there in the pew, and the pastor asked for everybody to come up, and I was the last one in line because I wasn't going to do it. I'm like, I go to the doctor, just like you said, Peter. I'm going to go to the doctor, and I'm going to get healed. So what do I need to ask God for? Then I'm sitting there thinking, that's kind of dumb. I should at least give him a chance.
Hmm.
So I go up there, and this is going to sound emotional or crazy, but as soon as he touched me, I remember he had this bottle of olive oil. He touched his finger to it. He touched me on the forehead. I'm not kidding you. As quick as he touched me, my knee felt like it was heat, a lot of heat on it. And I'm thinking, well, this is a little weird. And this is how much I think my faith, so little faith that I have so many times, it's just like I don't have any faith at all. And
Hmm.
I sat back down thinking I was not healed. So I'm in the pew, and I'm trying to find the spot where my knee hurt again. I couldn't find it. So um so I tell my wife and everything what happened. And so I used to jog home from work all the time. But I only lived like 3.5 miles from work, so I would jog home. So I went back to doing that again because I couldn't do it for a while because my knee was so bad. And so I thought, well, I'll start jogging home again. So I am like, I don't know, 5 blocks from home, and all of a sudden I can't even walk again. That knee says it's going to hurt again. Well, but then I remember a preacher saying to me one time, when you get healed of something, that you just rebuke it in Jesus' name and tell that thing to go away, and it will. And it did. And that knee has been perfect until 5 years ago.
Huh.
So
There was a time
yeah,
limit.
I mean, well, no, there wasn't.
Well,
So
it sounds like the warranty
um,
expired.
well, but here's what happened. So actually, by the way, I'd forgotten which knee it was for a long time.
Hmm.
But I wasn't, because there wasn't any pain there that probably went for 35 years, no pain at all. And then I'm going over to visit a friend, and you know how you got your trailer jack sticking out of the back of your car? So
Yeah.
I forgot and I left it in. I usually take it out because if you don't, they rust up and you can't get them back out. So anyway, I left it in, and I'm walking around, and the guy's wife is sitting on the porch, and I look up to say hi to her, and I hit that thing with my knee. And I thought I couldn't even say hi. I just went, it almost ripped my knee in half. Anyway, so I had to have it operated on, evidently.
Huh.
And I'd prayed for it even since, and God never healed it. But anyway, I had a meniscus tear, and it got fixed, and it's good again. So, but at any rate, um, I don't know. I guess it could be just in my head. I mean, I know a lot of people say that, but I can't deny the heat I felt, and I can't deny that I thought I was stupid. And if God is real, how come my non-faith thinks that? I sit down, I'm thinking, it didn't happen. I mean, and then it did. I mean, I don't get that. I mean, I can go on. So we bought this, I retired, we bought this farm area, and I know nothing about farm. I'm a sales guy. That's what I do for a living, did. And I mean, worked in a warehouse and that kind of stuff. So I buy this four-wheeler that's got a winch on the front, and I buy this big old tractor that's junk. At any rate, um, so the property has a ditch on it, and I'm gonna forget what I did. Anyway, I just got stuck in the ditch with the big tractor. I thought, well, I'll go down and I'll put that winch on that little four-wheeler, and I'll hook some chains up, hook it to the front of the tractor, and pull it out of the ground. So no big deal. I mean, all I need is a little bit of help, and it should come out and come on up. And so, but my wife, I need somebody on the tractor and somebody to push the button to start the winch to pull me out of the ditch, which that little thing has very little power compared to that big tractor. So, um, so my wife does not want to do it, and I don't blame her really, but because sometimes, I'm not really a mechanic, so but sometimes I do things they don't work out the way they should. so so she does not
Hmm.
want to do this, and I'm like, oh come on, all you gotta do is sit on it and push the button. That's all you gotta do. And I mean, what else am I going to do? And I don't know anybody here. It's because we're brand new in the area, and I could always invite my kids to come down. It's like 50 miles from where the kids live. So, but at any rate, um, I am sitting in the shed. I got the chains on the four-wheeler, and I push the button to start it, and I'm sitting there, and I pray. I said, God, can you help me with this? Because I don't want
Hmm.
anything to go wrong. And I know my wife has agreed to do it, but I don't want her to get hurt, and she's so afraid of it anyway. I said, Lord, can you help me with this? I back out and turn around, and there's this kid sitting in my driveway. And he wants to hunt mushrooms there because he used to live there. So we had a nice conversation and all that. He says, by the way, what are you doing with the chains on your four-wheeler? I said, I'm going to pull that tractor out of the ditch. He looks at me and he points with the steering. He goes, with that?
Hmm.
And I realized I'm just this dumb city guy who knows nothing. That kid was raised on a farm, so he knows everything. And plus, I find out later he's a diesel mechanic, so he knows. He says, no. So I'm going to go get my uncle's 110 horsepower John Deere. I'll pull you out. I said, okay. So he did. So to me, now this sounds crazy. That was the fastest answer to prayer you could get. I mean, I said, Lord, can you help me? Hit the button, backed out, and there was my answer to prayer. And I didn't even ask for it. I didn't ask him to help me out of the ditch. He brought it up.
Now
I
I'm
wasn't even going to
curious.
tell him that I was going down there.
Now I'm curious.
So, I mean, I don't know. Is that just chance? Yeah.
Now I'm curious.
I mean, I
Why
guess
do
it's
you
chance, but
why
yeah,
do
sure,
you
go ahead.
why do you thank God instead of the guy who saw that you were in trouble and decided to help you out? Why do you give God the credit, not the guy who actually helped you?
Well, they both get credit. I've thanked him I thanked him on the same day and often. So I still see him. He's a friend of mine's grandson, or nephew, I mean. So
But
I still see him. In fact, I just saw him
basically what you're
a few months
saying,
ago.
if God hadn't intervened, then this guy wouldn't have helped you.
Well, he would have helped if I'd have called him up, but I didn't know him at the time. I didn't know anybody.
So, but now you're trying to,
God doesn't always answer prayer.
Now you're trying to get it both ways. You don't see that?
No.
Because either it was God intervening, which means that the guy doesn't get any credit because God made him do it, or it was just the guy who saw that you were in trouble and decided to help, and God didn't have anything to do with it. You can't have both.
Could be both answers. Well, you can. It can be both.
How could it be both if God is omniscient, right? Your God is omniscient? Right?
Define that.
Is he all knowing?
Define omniscient.
Is he all knowing?
Okay. Yeah.
Is he everywhere?
Yeah.
So if he knows that this guy is going to go up to you, then why would he do anything?
Well, I could also look at it that I don't know what happened.
No, but the
God
question,
knew.
the question
I'm
is
just assuming.
The question is really simple.
Let's
say that you're standing at the side of the road and you're having car trouble. I'm driving past and I see that you're in trouble and I think, okay, maybe I can help this guy. And I'm turning around. If God knows that that is what I will be thinking in a few seconds, then why would he need to make me turn around if I'm already going to turn around and God already knows that I'm going to turn around? There's nothing he can do. The only thing he could do is make me not turn around and just continue traveling. Because if he doesn't intervene, I will still help you. And if he does intervene, he's doing it for nothing. Because I mean, I was already going to, and he knew that I was already going to. You see the problem there?
Well, I don't see it as a problem, but
you don't?
But sure. I mean, that doesn't mean that God wasn't there to help out in that situation, but it doesn't mean he was either. I mean, it could have been just chance. I mean, I'm not so spiritual that I think that. That it couldn't have been just chance.
I want to have, because there are a few people in chat who have asked a few questions, and I really want to get some of those out.
Sure.
Jen with one N asks, is there anything in the Bible that you disagree with? And she had a
what does that mean? I mean, there's first of all, I think the people in the Bible, many of them, you have horrible people in the Bible and you got great people in the Bible. One of the biggest patriarchs in the Bible is King David. He was a
I don't think that's
man,
I don't think that's
and yet God loved him.
Yeah, I don't think that's what she means. Is there anything in the Bible that you disagree with?
Agree with? You mean that it's not true? Is that what that means?
Or something you just don't agree with. I mean, there's I can't tell you the chapter and verse, but there's a particular thing in the Bible where God orders his people to slaughter women and to rip the unborn babies out of their belly. Would that be something you disagree with? Would you think that that wouldn't be a little bit of overkill?
Well, yeah, I think that's in today's world, it's overkill, but at the same time, it's going on today. I mean, so
does that make it right?
Here's the way I look at what
does that make it right?
No, but well, let me explain, and I think I can do this fairly quickly. So, if first of all, God created us, He created the earth, and He did it all in 6 days. So, if He has that capability, which I believe He does, then that means that He gets the choice to decide what's right and wrong and when. So I think those kind of things, first of all, He had to destroy the whole earth in Noah's flood because of all the wickedness. So then after He did that, you would think, if this is true, if this story is true, you would think after all that, you would think that Noah's 3 children and wives would have kids that were pretty good. Instead, and He tells them twice in the book of Genesis to go and replenish the earth, and they don't do it. They stay there at the Tower of Babel, and they fight God on every issue, everything. And they didn't have first of all, and they did not have a Bible back then. They didn't have, all they had was whatever, And so I think that some of the things that He did with people back then were because of the sin of man and how wretched we are in our heart. You're not any better than I am, and I'm not any better than you are. I would just soon do things wrong all the time. And that's the way we all are. So, I mean, if you're thinking that because you're an atheist, that your heart is somehow better than mine, it's not.
I'm not saying that.
And mine's not better than yours.
No, I'm not saying that. And that's also not the question that Jen was asking, and she clarified. Okay, let me go. There we go. So, slavery, selling your daughters into slavery, or selling your daughters off to marriage, arranged marriages. Those are the things that she specifically mentioned. Do you agree with that?
Well, again, of course not today, but back then it was a different world back then. I mean, slavery was okay up until 150 years ago in the United States, and Europe has had slavery since the beginning of time.
Yes.
So, and Africa has slavery.
Does that make it right?
So, well, no, and I'm not sure the Bible says slavery is okay. It says that if you
hold on, the
Bible doesn't say it's okay, but what it does say, well, real quick, let me finish what I'm saying, then you say what you want. But I do think the Bible talks about slavery and how to manage it if you're going to do it. I don't think it says,
yes,
Fred, you go out and get your slaves.
You can beat a guy,
like indentured slaves, because
you can beat a guy, and if he doesn't die until the 3rd day, then that is fine. I mean, if he dies on the 3rd day, there's no punishment, according to God.
Well, but again, you're looking at a barbaric time back in those days.
Yes, a time where people stole and killed, murdered, and were adulterous, right? All those things that are condemned in the 10 Commandments, yet slavery isn't. God couldn't say, okay, you can't own people as property. He didn't have that power. Because there's nowhere in the Bible. There's no.
No, Peter, let him ask.
Go ahead.
But so you're looking at it from today's thinking, and today's thinking is different from what it was back then. So I mean, now look at what's going on now. Russia has taken over Ukraine. We think that's bad, right?
Do you think slaves enjoyed being slaves back then?
Well, some of them. Well, I don't know if they did or not, but one thing's for sure: some of them, even after their indentured time was done, they stayed with their master.
Only hold on. That's a big mistake, because that's only your Hebrew slaves, right? If you get a slave from a foreign country, that slave is your property for life, and you can your children will inherit them. That's all.
Okay.
All of that. All of those rules were laid down by God. They're clearly in. So they're in Exodus and Deuteronomy is where the rules are, and you can beat them. And if they die on the third day because of the beating, that's okay. If they die on the first or the second day, then you're going to get punished. But if he survives for a couple of days and then dies, there's no punishment because your God's fine with that. Even Jesus in the New Testament says, slaves, obey your masters, especially the cruel ones. So Jesus is fine with slavery too.
That was life back then. So let me ask you this: was it okay for Russia to
murder
invade
wasn't
Ukraine?
murder wasn't life?
No, I'm asking. I mean, is it okay for Russia to do that?
No, of course
Yes
not.
or no?
That's
a
why.
yes or no answer.
That's why we got. That's why we got rid of it. What? So my question is, if humans can come to the conclusion that owning slaves is a bad thing, and they can abolish it, why couldn't God?
Well, again, we don't know it's a bad thing. I mean, you're saying it is, and I guess I don't agree with it. Well, you can say what you want, but
you can't say that slavery is bad.
in a way,
come on, Craig.
You can't say that slavery is bad.
It depends. Okay, let's look at it this way.
Let's look at it this way. You said you had children. Do you have daughters, Craig?
Yeah.
Can I buy one?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can I buy one?
Well, I'm not going to sell them to you.
Okay, but what if I just come over and take her? Just like Numbers 31, for instance. Let's just like God commanded Moses in Numbers 31 to kill everyone, but keep the children, the women children who hadn't laid with a man, so basically the virgins, keep them for yourselves. And we all know that there's only one reason why a woman needs to be a virgin in the Bible, and that is if you want to have sex with her, she needs to be a virgin. That's the only reason in the entire Bible, everywhere, where a woman needs to be a virgin. So, and this was commanded by God. God commanded Moses to have them do that. And when there weren't enough virgins for all of the troops, God just picked a village nearby and said, well, there are virgins there, so go there and kill those people, and then you can have the additional virgins you need for the soldiers who locked out. And so you're fine with that. You think that's okay to command your people to take child sex slaves. That's okay.
Well, certainly not in today's world. It's not that.
And so God isn't from today. God is behind us some way.
Well, we don't know. I mean, He created it, so He's everything. He's
God
isn't
Isn't God the same throughout time, according to the Bible?
Well, that's what it says. Yeah.
So
that doesn't mean He treats us the same.
So today, God would still be fine with me coming over to your country, killing your entire family, taking your daughter as my personal sex slave. God would be fine with that. There's no commandment that would stop me. There's no commandment that would stop me.
That's a good question.
There are rules what I can and cannot do with your daughter. I can beat her, but if she doesn't die in two days, then that's fine. Those are the rules, and I'm just applying the rules that your God gave me for slavery. And you're okay with a God like that. Because there's no update, right? So those rules still apply today. According to Jesus, not to Paul, because Paul said something completely different, but according to Jesus, you still have to obey all of the commandments in the Old Testament. Right? So I know Paul wanted to get rid of them, and so
no,
Paul said,
it doesn't
Jesus,
say that.
yes, Jesus did say that. Do you want chapter and verse?
Well, he said he came to fulfill the law.
Yes. But do you want chapter and verse where Jesus said that all of the old laws still apply? Because I can look that up for you. That's not going to be hard.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead if you want to. That's fine.
Not a jot or tittle, not a jot
yes,
or
that's the
tittle
one.
of the law shall change till all has come to pass.
Yes.
Right. So that's
Yeah, let's look it up and read the whole thing. I guess I've looked at that in the past, but I haven't done it for a long time.
It's Matthew 5:18.
Where does the Bible say not a jot or tittle?
It's Matthew 5:18. For truly I tell you, until heaven and earth disappear, not the smallest, until heaven and earth disappear, both are still here. At least when I look outside, I can still see earth. So not the smallest letter, not the least stroke of a pen will by any means disappear from the law until everything is accomplished. So heaven and earth need to disappear, and everything should be accomplished, and then you can get rid of some of the laws. And it continues, so then whoever breaks one of the least of these commandments and teaches other to do likewise will be called least in the kingdom of heaven.
Yeah.
And that's Jesus talking. So if you don't adhere to all the laws in the Old Testament, you're not going to go to heaven. And I know that Paul said different. Paul said Jesus fulfilled everything, and therefore the laws no longer count, which is weird because you still have the 10 commandments, which are in the middle of all the other commandments. Not even the first 10, they're in the middle. And those still apply, which is weird.
And it goes on, Peter, and it goes on in a very interesting way because of something Craig said earlier. Craig said earlier that basically he's no better than you, you're no better than him, that, people are equal, which is, I think, a great way to approach life. The Bible disagrees. So this is now Matthew 5:20. For I say unto you, that except your righteousness shall exceed the righteousness of the scribes and the Pharisees, ye shall in no case enter into the kingdom of heaven. You've heard them say, it was said by them of old time, thou shalt not kill. Whoever shall kill shall be in danger of the judgment. But I say unto you that whosoever is angry with his brother without a cause shall be in danger of the judgment. Whosoever shall say to his brother, Raka, shall be in danger of the council. But whoever shall say, thou fool, shall be in danger of the hellfire. So it sounds like there are different classes of people, at least morally, in the Bible. You'd agree with that, right?
No,
Oh.
I disagree.
Oh.
So I think we're all tempted and we're all drawn away by our own lust, every one of us. And that's what I was talking about. We're not talking
Except
about
Jesus.
this right there. I was talking about, well, I wasn't talking about this particular scripture when I said what I said. So to me, they're not related.
I know.
Okay. So I'm saying that in your heart, to do wrong is really not much different than mine. I mean, we're very similar, even though
You don't know that. You don't know that I didn't kill my elderly neighbor this morning and hide her body before I came here, and I'm going to use this as my alibi. I just gave myself up. Damn it. But you don't know that about me. You don't know that about Peter. You don't know that about anybody. That's why you always hear about the serial killer. He's such a quiet guy, right? We don't know each other's, you say hearts, I say minds. We don't know each other's minds at all. We attempt to communicate with one another so that we can share knowledge and belief. But that communication is very often imperfect. That's why Jesus needed to come along and explain it all over again, even though it had been done quite well in the Old Testament. What is it, 623 commandments actually in all? There's 613. I always forget which it is. But all of those exist and none of them shall change because Jesus, presumably, knows or knew that some people were better able to withstand temptation than others. Isn't that true?
Sure.
Okay, so then it isn't true to say that people's hearts are the same, that because they're not. Some people
Well,
are good people, some people are bad people, and the saying goes, good people will do good, evil people will do evil. But if you want a good person to do evil, that takes religion.
Mm-hmm. And this leads me to another question from one of our other co-hosts, Robert. And this is a guy I miss dearly. We need to do another show together sometime soon. Robert asked, why is Craig special? God cured him, but ignored all the other prayers. How? That's another thing that I would, if I would have had your experience with the warts, my first thought would go, okay, so he got rid of my warts, but people are dying of cancer and praying, and they're all of their loved ones are praying, and nothing happens. I would.
Well, I'd like to.
I would want my warts back if he could, instead of that, cure one person with cancer. I would be covered in warts if every single wart meant that a person, especially a child with cancer, would be cured. That and the fact that when Christians tell me those stories, I mean, I know that is what you think and what you believe, and I know it's what you're convinced of. But didn't you have thoughts like that when you were cured?
Sure. Yep. No question. But to go back on what Flynn was talking about.
But no. Let's not go back. Hold on, just for a second. But how did you answer that question for yourself?
Let me answer this other one real quick. This will take a second. Then I'll move right on to what you're thinking, or your question. So, or the question of the person on air there. So Jesus says, nobody is good, no, not one. So I guess if you look at it that way, so none of us are good. Now, sure, there's different levels of us being bad. I mean, if you want to say murder is worse than pick your other thing that's wrong. I mean, I don't care. You pick anything.
Wasn't his mother without sin?
Yeah, I don't think Jesus was good either. Sin? I don't think Jesus was good either.
Yeah, she said
he gave some terrible advice.
Not everybody has this character, right? The Bible, if you believe the biblical narrative, the Bible disproves that in the example of Jesus and of Mary, that they didn't sin, they were pure.
No, it never said that Mary never sinned. It doesn't say that. In fact, it would say the opposite. All man has sinned and come short of the glory of God. Everybody.
Except Jesus.
So, right. And he was a man and God. So he cheated. He was also God. So.
That's exactly my point.
I'm just curious. Have you read the infancy gospels ever, Craig?
What? Never heard of them.
Okay, so you're aware that a lot of Jesus's history is missing from the Bible. So he gets born and then he disappears from the Bible and he comes back when he's about 30 years old, right? But
True.
there are
Yeah.
gospels that talk about Jesus's life, in which he kills his teacher, kills children, kills birds for fun. All of that. That wasn't obviously that was not going to be part of the Bible, even though the Bible still references some of the other gospels that weren't in the Bible. So, I mean, and this is the infancy gospels are by Luke, who is in the Bible. So, apparently the verses
that is rather interesting stuff.
Yeah, and I mean,
I'm going to write that down. The Infancy Bible. I'm going to read that because I mean that sounds
the
like
infancy
crazy to me.
gospel, the infancy gospels of Luke. But that is, and this is why I if you know that the Bible was compiled by men over several conferences over a long period of time in a democratic way, you can't really say that it's the word of God, right? Because if men decided what is going to make it into the Bible and what isn't, then how? So Luke was inspired by God, but not always inspired by God. And there are other books that the Bible references to. So apparently God wanted people to read those books. If that's the case, then why didn't they make the Bible? Wouldn't that make things easier?
I guess, but I've never heard of that. The infancy of gospel before. Infancy of Luke. Was the infancy gospel? I mean, by Luke.
Yes, yeah. I'm pretty sure. So, I'm pretty sure there isn't a pastor or a priest or a minister on the planet that's going to tell you go read those books, because Jesus doesn't come off that well once you've read that.
Well, so do you have that book? Do you guys have that book in your library?
I don't have it, but you can read it online, so I have. That's a long time ago, though.
Okay. There's ways of telling if somebody was actually there when that happened, when you read a scripture. Like, for instance, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the way those are written, they were written at the time of Jesus, and they were written by people that lived there.
And that they contradict each other.
So you've probably heard of the...
And that they contradict each other, yeah.
Not really.
Yes,
Not
really. Yes,
Not
really.
really.
So was it one woman? Was it one woman who discovered the empty tomb, or was it two women?
Well, all that's been explained. I mean,
that's not a contradiction.
So,
if one person said one woman discovered the tomb, and another one says two women discovered the tomb, that's not a contradiction.
Well, what I would say it is it's actually proof that the Bible was not plagiarized by Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. They all wrote their own stories from their own vantage.
Exactly. They wrote their own stories. That's why they don't line up.
Sure. Okay. And also, well, I mean, I agree that there's a way to look at it that says that there's mistakes in it or whatever, but at the same time, that's another way of saying, like I said, they didn't plagiarize. So I guess I don't want to say that again, but they didn't plagiarize each other. And also, for instance, Jericho.
They contradicted each other. It's not that they don't line up; they contradict each other.
Okay. Have you ever listened to some of the? There's a lot of YouTube videos and there's books on that of how they don't contradict.
Yes.
Or why they do. Have you looked at some of those? Okay.
I have. Right. And you know what my first question is? If the Bible is the inerrant word of the one true God, why do I need to go watch a YouTube video to figure out what the Bible says? Because if the Bible is the inerrant word of God, I don't need YouTube videos. All I need is the Bible. Am I correct? Or
Well,
is there anywhere in the Bible where it says go watch YouTube? Because I'm pretty sure that that's not in there. What is in there?
Sure.
What is in there is that you shouldn't be fooled by false prophets. So you shouldn't listen to anyone outside of the Bible about what the Bible says. That is in the Bible. So the Bible tells you not to watch YouTube videos. I'm just throwing it out there. I mean, I know a lot of Christians don't know that particular part of the Bible, but you can check. It's in there.
Mm-hmm.
Even Jesus,
Actually,
Jesus warned for false prophets. Isn't that correct?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So if Jesus warns you not to go looking on YouTube for false prophets who will twist the words of the Bible to fit your narrative, then why would you?
Yeah. Well, there's a book
I know
out
why.
that I read.
I know why.
Okay.
I
Go ahead.
I know
think the
why
why-
too. But go ahead, Flynn.
Well, let's see if your why agrees with mine. I'm going to play armchair psychologist here, or psychoanalyst, and say that Craig is impervious to cognitive dissonance. He has no problem having two completely antithetical thoughts or beliefs in his head at the same time. He can do that with no doubt. So just as we established earlier, he's willing to accept the science of evolutionary theory, but it's trumped by the Bible. So he would say about, I think, anything that contradicts itself in the Bible, that the Bible is inerrant because even the mistakes are supposed to be there. Yes, Craig?
Well, is that a talent, or is that a special gifting I have, or what do you think it is?
I think it is. I'm going to be completely honest. I think it has to do with your education. I don't think you're a very well educated person.
Well, I agree with that.
Yeah.
As far as college.
I don't mean that as an insult. That's life.
That's okay. No, you can insult me. That's okay.
I won't insult
You can't do it.
And it's not just life, it's also geographical. You grew up in the United States, chances are good that you had poor education. They rank 37, I think.
Yeah.
37 on education. For a great country.
We were number one.
What?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. When I was growing up, it was number one, and now it's like
the United States has never been number one. I can at least help you dispel that dream. It never has been. It never will either.
Right.
I mean,
well, that can be disputed. So
no, it can't be disputed because we have the data. You can't dispute the data. You can't say that a country that is doing terrible in education is number one if the data tells you otherwise. The fact that at some point in the not too long ago, 60% of Americans thought that the world was 6,000 years old, even though we know that that's not the case. And I think
don't know that, but you think
yes,
that.
we do know that. We do
no,
know
you
that.
don't know that.
Yeah, we do.
Well, you don't know that. You don't know that. That doesn't mean that there are other people.
You're right, I don't know it.
So you know better than someone who has been studying this for their entire life, who made it their life's work to investigate the natural world, but you know better? How?
Well, again, I'm not the only one who thinks this way, and there's a lot of
I'm not asking other people.
Schools.
I'm asking Craig. Mm-hmm. You think you know better than someone who has a PhD. Explain to me how you know better.
So do you know better? I mean, how do you know?
No.
Do you got a PhD in that?
I mean, you're avoiding the
Just froze on
question,
me.
but I'll answer you. I can go check their work.
And I can do the same.
And you have.
Yeah.
Yes?
There's all kinds of creation
Great.
scientists who believe in creation. Tons
Okay,
of them.
great.
So that's a non sequitur.
Let's start with an easy one. How's carbon dating done?
Oh, really? That's too easy. You got carbon 14, carbon
Yeah.
13, and carbon 12.
How's carbon dating?
14 is made in the atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
Carbon 14 is not stable. Carbon 13 and 12 is stable.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes out of the atmosphere. Go ahead.
That is what it is.
What
But
else you want to know about it?
my question was, how's carbon dating done? Because in order to say that it is wrong, you need to know the entire process, right?
I never said carbon dating is wrong.
Also, the Earth is at least.
I agree. I agree with carbon dating.
Also, the Earth is at least 50,000 years old.
Well, so you really want to get into this, huh? I'll tell you, it's pretty simple.
If you
actually.
agree with carbon dating,
So,
carbon dating is used. No, hold on. If you agree with carbon dating is used up until about 50,000 years. If we go beyond that, there's not enough left for us to check and to get a reliable date. So that means that the Earth is at least 50,000 years old. If you
That's your
agree
opinion. And now there's other opinions different from that.
that is
And I'll
what
be happy. I'll be happy to explain it to you.
you just said. You agree
That's what
with
you
carbon.
think, because that's the people you listen to.
No. You
I
said.
do
You
agree
just
with
said.
carbon
Hold
dating,
on.
and I'll explain why.
Am I missing something? Didn't you just say that you agreed with carbon dating?
100%.
100%.
But
So
you don't.
so that we can date things that
Yes,
are
I do.
50.
I still
We can date things that are 50,000 years old. You agree with that?
No.
So you're not.
Then you don't.
that part I
believe in
don't.
carbon dating.
So you don't agree with carbon dating
I can
100%.
explain to you. No. I certainly do, and I can tell you why. If you want to know why.
So let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. When Ken Ham tells the people that are rolling up to his Ark encounter how old the wood is that is used for the Ark because they carbon dated it, does carbon dating work or doesn't it work?
It works.
Okay, so and when the same carbon dating, when the same technique tells you something is 50,000 years old, then for some mysterious reason it doesn't work?
Then it's wrong. It's wrong at that point.
Okay, how is it? And now explain to me how the exact same method is wrong when a creationist uses it, and it's right when a creationist uses it, and when it's wrong if a secular person uses it. What's the difference between the two methods? I'm all ears.
Okay. First I'm going to say this to start with. So they have some history back around 3,000 and 4,000, 5,000 years ago that they know roughly the date of things. You know, they know potteries or whatever they know the certain dates on things.
Yes.
Isn't there pottery
they will
older
date
than the Bible?
Yes, there is.
I don't know. Probably is.
I live close to a town where they have dildos that are older than. Never mind. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding.
Okay.
I believe you.
So I appreciate that. That was good, I guess.
And it's true. It's in Germany.
So according to the creation scientists, there are I say creation scientists, Cypher throws a fit about that because
Yeah,
I say it the wrong way. I should say
they don't
scientists that believe
exist.
in creation. That's the way I should say it.
They don't exist.
But yeah, right. So scientists that believe in creation, but there are scientists that believe in creation, right? They exist.
Yes. Yes.
Yep.
Scientists that believe in creation, they exist.
Yes.
And they use the same data
No.
that regular scientists use, right?
No. No.
Yes, they do. The same data.
No.
They
Okay.
apparently
Well-
not, because they don't use carbon dating, or
Yes,
they
they
don't.
use
believe
carbon
I can
it,
give you
or they
I can
don't
give you an
believe it's
example.
past its 6,000
Craig.
year time frame.
Craig, I can give
Well,
you an
let me finish,
example.
but if you
I
want me
can
to
give
tell
you an hold on. I can give you an example. You probably heard of that there were creationist scientists who carbon dated dinosaur bones. Are you aware of that?
I don't think you can date dinosaur bones.
You can't, but they
Not
did.
by carbon dating.
They did, and they got a
They
date.
did. Well, I never heard of it.
And they got a date. And guess what they carbon dated? They carbon dated the shellac that the fossils were covered in to preserve them in order to put them in the museum. So yes, they got an accurate date,
That's funny.
but
That's funny.
and they were told this, and yet they still tell people that they got the correct date, and those dinosaur bones are really that age. We call that lying.
Well, sometimes I wonder about the information you get. I mean, I don't know that I agree with your information, but you're welcome to it. And if you're right,
The information
I'd like to
is
know.
available.
I'd like to see it somewhere.
But yeah,
Well, I'd like to see it. I've never seen it. In fact, the creation stuff that I read, they say you can't date bones. So
Mhm.
I don't know.
well, of course they
How about
say
that?
that. Of course they say that.
Well, then
They
why
have
would
no
one
choice.
say why would one say you can date bones and one say you can't? I mean, so that's I don't know why they
I
would.
don't know. Why do you?
I don't know where you
believe
get your
two
information.
Diametrically
Well,
opposed things at the
when
same
you-
time.
When you date
Good point. Yeah,
when-
good point.
when you date a dinosaur fossil, you're not dating the bones, because the bones are no longer
Right.
there.
You can't date the bones.
No, the bones aren't there.
Where are they?
They're permineralized.
Dinosaur bones? What do you mean?
Yes,
Yeah, they've turned into fossils.
Oh, they're not bones anymore.
Fossils
they're
are-
You're
not
saying
bones anymore.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fair.
with
That's
with
fair.
the
Yeah,
the
that's fair.
exemption
Yeah.
with the exemption of a few tiny shreds that Mary Schweitzer found that were preserved in a high iron.
Soft tissue.
Yeah, well, it wasn't soft
You found that
tissue.
soft
They
tissue
made
stuff?
it. They
Yeah,
had to make
sure.
it. They had to make it soft in order.
Collagen.
So they were put in an acid, and then they turned into soft tissue.
Yeah.
They weren't soft to begin with.
Okay.
They had to have some help.
All right.
But yeah, this is.
Yeah.
And Mary Schweitzer was a young Earth creationist. She found the soft tissue and was afraid for her job, and talked to her boss and said, "Hey, I'm doing my PhD on this, and I found soft tissue." And her boss said, "You go ahead, because your data is correct. So now we need to figure out what happened." She did her study. She dated the bone, the fossil. The date was correct. And she's now no longer a young Earth creationist because of her own work. Because now she knows firsthand, I did everything right. The method is correct, the date is correct, and I have soft tissue. And she was world famous for finding the soft tissue. But the dating of the bones was still correct. And now, because she did all of this herself, she had no reason not to believe anyone else, because she did the work herself. And what bothers me is a friend of mine, Arn Ra, has talked to Mary Schweitzer, and she's sick and tired of young Earth creationists misrepresenting her work, saying that the soft tissue means that the Earth is young. She hates it when that happens, and she can't understand why Christians are doing this. But this is what Answers in Genesis, Kent Hovind, Ray Comfort, just to name the big three. They know they are lying, but they don't care because there's money to be made. The ark cost $118 million. Do you know where that came from? From gullible people who believe their lies. You know how many homeless people there are in Kentucky and how many people would have been able to get a house if that money was used for something good instead of building an ark that isn't even to the biblical specs? The shape is wrong. It has more than one window. It has more than one door. Everything about the ark is wrong. And you know what the funniest thing is? Ken Ham wanted to put animals in the ark, and he was told he couldn't because they would die of methane poisoning within 24 hours. So he's not allowed to have live animals in there. If that's the case, then that was the case for Noah's Ark too. But they need to keep lying. Ken Ham made, I think, about $400,000 a year before he stepped down as CEO. Kent Hovind makes, at this moment, about $2 million a year. Ray Comfort makes $1 million a year. Little over $1 million. I think it's 1.3 million a year. But Hovind is on his own. Ray Comfort has his entire family working in his ministry. They all get a six-figure salary. So does Ken Ham. Ken Ham's entire family works there. Well, Bodie's a little pissed off because he wasn't the second one to come up as the CEO. He was passed by someone outside of the family, so Bodie isn't too happy anymore. These people lie to you because they want to make money. And it pisses me off that they get away with it. Honestly.
Does Craig donate to religious causes? Craig?
Just my church.
Just your church?
I do my church, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And do you tithe or just put whatever you have in your pocket in the collection plate, or how do you do it?
I tithe. You can say I tithe, yeah.
Yeah, okay. What is your religion? Sorry?
I guess it'd be considered Baptist, I guess.
Baptist,
that'd be the way you'd want to hear it, yeah.
I mean,
I used to live live behind the guy. Go ahead, Peter.
Yeah, I want to state one thing, at least now in the open. I know it's kind of going to look that way. I don't think that Craig is a bad person. When we first did our intake, we had a lot of fun, and we have a whole lot of stuff that we agree on. That's something that I really want to point out. And I don't think that Craig is a bad person. So if people want to react in the comments or in the chat, please keep in mind that he isn't a bad person. And probably for some of the things that he believes in right now.
He's just wrong.
But it's not even his fault. I mean, you get bombarded and you get in a circle. I just hope that at some point Craig will want to know whether or not the things that are being told to him are correct. And that's the thing that we encourage with this show. But that's one thing that I just wanted to get out, because I hate it when
and I appreciate that. So
I've seen a lot of shows, atheist shows, where it's just, okay, you got a stupid moron on the show right now, so let's go and bash him. That's, first of all, that's not what we're trying to do. Second of all, I don't want people to think that. And third of, it doesn't help. If we're going to call each other idiots or whatever, or other names, it just doesn't help. We need to be able to have a conversation and to have a decent conversation, a little bit respectful at least. That's my opinion. You can respond, Chris.
And I was just going to say, I want you to have your opinion. I only want your true, honest opinion. I don't want I don't want you to fake it, and I'm glad that you don't. And I mean, even though we disagree on the way you look at the truth, that's okay. I mean, I'm not mad about that. I will pray for you that,
Oh no.
So
I mean,
I know you laugh and scoff at that stuff, but and I get it, and I get it. But
you wouldn't be the
if
first.
there is a God, which yeah, I know that because you've said that before. But if there is a God, so which I believe there is. I mean, I don't see there's any way. I mean, all these things that you say, that you just went through a whole list of things that I didn't respond to. I have an answer in my mind for every one of those, which is just my opinion. And you have your opinion, and you think that. I mean, in your mind, your opinion is so scientific that you can't go beyond that.
Let me ask you a question.
I look at some of your scientific facts that you call scientific facts, but you call them facts, and I don't believe those facts are correct.
Hold on. I'm glad you said that.
I'm going.
Hold on. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because
sure.
Does my opinion count, do you think?
Absolutely. And I want to hear your opinion.
It doesn't.
And I want it unadulterated.
It doesn't.
I want to know it exactly from your heart.
No, when it comes to science, my opinion. No, when it comes to science, my opinion doesn't count.
Oh, you're talking about that. Okay.
When it comes to science, what counts is what you can show to be real, what you can show to be correct. And that is what science does.
Genesis, right?
Well, we know a lot about that. We can get into that if you want. But
there's a difference between individual science and the work they do, and individual consumers of science and what they take away from what they read or learn about. There's a big difference between those things and scientific consensus. And it's scientific consensus that leads me and Peter and others to believe that dinosaurs are more than 50,000 years old, and that the Earth is more than 6,000 years old, and that that Jesus was just a guy.
What it boils down to is the peer review. Is that someone comes up with some findings, they have a method in which they check those findings. And what peer review does is they try to shoot it down. All they do is his colleagues try to prove him wrong. And if they can't,
I understand that.
Then a hypothesis becomes a theory, which is the highest thing in science. And even if it's a theory, it will still be under attack by other scientists who are trying to shoot it down. And if they have the data and they can show that any of the findings are false, it's going to be changed. That's why science changes over time. And yet it hasn't happened. Why do you think that 99.95% of scientists accept evolution, and only a fringe piece? There are more scientists. Have you heard of Project Steve, Craig?
No, never heard of it.
So at some point, a creationist said, well, there are thousands of scientists who don't believe in evolution. Turns out there are more scientists called Steve than scientists who don't accept evolution. It was a fun project.
Okay.
I grant it. But what I also don't understand is, why would it shake your faith if it wasn't true?
Well, again, you're going by fallible man to believe what you're believing, and when you use data and pile it on top of other data, then that's going to lead you to believe a certain way. And so that's what evolution scientists do. They take data, they build it on the next, then they come to their final hypothesis, and then they prove it with a theory.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same way with a scientist that believes in creation. They take science, ding, 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 all the way up to theory, and then they do the peer review stuff, and then they come out with it's a theory.
No. There's no scientific theory ever being provided by creation scientists. Not a single one.
There isn't.
Sure, there is.
No, there isn't.
Huh?
There isn't.
Not that has the consensus of the scientific community. That's why these various creation publications and websites and things exist in order to give these people a venue for what they think.
You can't get a scientific.
I'm talking peer review.
Yes, there is no peer review.
Go ahead.
And the peer review that has been done, has proven them wrong. Which is why there is no.
Again, let me say this real quick. Let me say this again. You missed what I said, I think, because you're answering a different question from what I said. What I'm saying is, you take what an evolution scientist believes, and they went back to their childhood and went a certain way and believed that such and such happened.
No.
Well, it's the same with a scientist that believes in creation. Now, let me finish what I'm saying. Let me finish what I'm saying.
No, I'm not going to let you finish, because that's a lie. First of all, that's a lie that you have been fed. I'm pretty sure you didn't come up with this yourself. So that's a lie that you have been fed.
No, I did. I just did.
There is an evolutionary scientist doesn't believe something. He doesn't start out with he doesn't start out with a belief. Mm-hmm. A real scientist leaves his beliefs out of the door when he goes and does science.
Yeah. Because
you need to be impartial. If you're not, then you will be. If you're not, you're biased, and you're going to leave out data that is important. And you can't do that in science.
And they are biased.
No, they are not.
Evolution scientists are biased. Oh, sure they are.
How?
No question.
So
that can't be denied.
Most of evolutionary scientists are Christian. What are they biased against?
Well, I don't know what that means to say that, but
it's a simple question. It's a simple question. You say they are biased. Most of those scientists are Bible-believing Christians. What are they biased against?
Well, I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know what to think about that. So
the author,
I think they're looking at the information the wrong way.
The author of the biology textbooks, someone I've spoken to myself, person to person, is a Bible-believing Christian. He writes books about evolution. What is he biased against? Is he biased? Is he against God? Is he against Jesus? Because he's a Bible-believing Christian. He thinks Jesus is his Lord and Savior. What is he biased against?
Well, first of all, I don't think Christians have every bit of knowledge just because you're professing Christian. So that doesn't mean they're not saved. That doesn't mean they're not going to heaven. That doesn't mean any of that kind of stuff. But they just believe something different from what I do about creation. So the way a scientist that believes in creation looks at the same data that a regular, that just a secular scientist looks at, because we all look at the same data. It's just how you perceive it.
Let me ask you a quick question.
Sure.
Is the Earth a globe?
I saw you guys talking about that. Yeah, it's a globe, I guess. Yeah. I mean, it's a sphere, maybe. I don't know. Maybe that's a little bit different.
So you're biased against the Bible?
No, because the Bible, I've read it more than once.
How do you know? Let me ask you a question.
I've never seen it where it says.
How do you know? that the Earth is a globe? Is it because you've seen
Well, you don't read the Bible to know that.
The Bible's clearly,
Yeah.
and I have a friend who did an entire video on that. I can link you to that video. The Bible is clear that the Earth is flat. Even Jesus thought that the Earth was flat. Even Jesus thought that the Earth was flat. Jesus said that he hoped. Jesus said that he hoped that when he came back, it wouldn't be in winter. Is that possible on the globe Earth?
Well, not if he's talking to people in Jerusalem.
But if
that doesn't mean he thinks it's flat.
So Jesus is only the Lord and Savior of people in Jerusalem, not in Australia.
I don't know. I would say Australia too, sure.
Okay, so when he comes back and it's summer in Jerusalem, what is it in Australia?
Well, it's probably wintertime there.
Yes.
Yeah, I see.
How can Jesus come back? How can Jesus come back? How can Jesus come back when it isn't winter?
Well, it's going to be winter somewhere. Well, it can be springtime. I mean, what if it's okay? Maybe again, I'm not sure that Jesus talks in scientific terms all the time. But that said, what if he comes back on the equinox day? That's not winter anywhere.
On the equinox? Which one?
True. Yeah, that's when the sun is right on the equator. That's the equinox day, and there's two of them every year, and it's right on. It's on March 20th, and it's on September 21st, whatever it is. That's the equinox day every year, and that's not winter anywhere on the planet.
I hope the North and the South.
Or fall.
I surely hope that the North and the South Pole aren't affected when that happens, because.
Well, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, Peter.
The Netherlands is under sea level.
If there is a God, do you? But again, I mean, you're grasping at straws. But so if God is real, let's just throw that out there and just pretend he's real for a second. How much does he love you if he's real?
If he's real?
If he's real, according to the Bible.
Okay.
Now let's just pretend he's real for a minute.
Can I use the words of Jesus?
How do you know it's infinite according to the Bible? How do you know? Huh? It's actually, I think it's in the book of Psalms.
Okay, so I can't.
I mean, how much does he love you? He doesn't say, "I love you as far as the north is from the south." He didn't say that. He said he loves you, Peter, as far as the east is from the west, and Flynn, you also. He didn't say, because if he loved you as far as the north is from the south, once he got all the way to the north, he can't love you anymore. Because that's it. He only loves you for 12,000 miles, either direction. Right? Roughly. That's all. But if he said east is from the west, that's forever. That's eternity. That's how much. If God is real, if there's anything at all true about the Bible, it depends on how much he loves you.
It depends on how you look at it. Because if I in the Netherlands, I'm in the Netherlands, right? And I picture a place in the west. And then I picture a place a little further in the west, then suddenly it's no longer in the west, because then it's in the east. So I can go the exact amount of length to the west and the east that I can go to north and the south.
But you can go, once you start going east, you never have to go west again. Never.
And
that's how much he loves you.
Once you go north, you never have to go south again.
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure he doesn't love me, because I don't hate my father and mother and my children and my sisters as Jesus said. Because if you don't hate all of them, you can't be a follower of Jesus. And sorry, God can be real. God can be real, but I'm not going to hate everyone.
Yeah, I don't think he said that.
Let me look that up for you.
But he did say he would like cause division in families. He did say that, and that people will hate you because of me. He did say that. I think that's probably what you're referring to.
Luke 14,
26.
26.
Yes.
Luke 14:26.
Luke 14:26. I'll read it to you. If anyone comes to me and does not hate father and mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters, yet even their own life, such a person cannot be my disciple. And this is Jesus talking.
He loved his own mother.
That's Jesus talking.
Yeah, but he loved his own mother.
Well, then
he loved his mother.
So you're saying he was a hypocrite.
Full of grace.
Then Jesus was a hypocrite.
Well, he's well, again, we weren't there that day when he said that, so we don't know exactly.
Well, hold on, but this is in the Bible.
And
this is in the Bible. Large crowds were not traveling with Jesus, and he turned and said to them, "If anyone comes to me," this is Jesus talking, and we weren't there, so we can't believe the Bible. That's what you're saying.
Well, it depends on how you interpret it, obviously.
How would you interpret it? How would you interpret it that he says, if anyone comes to me and does not hate his father and mother and wife and children, brothers and sisters, even his own life, he cannot be my disciple? How would you interpret that? That you have to love everyone?
I would say that it's more of a
it's a weird way of
you need to love me more. You need to love me so much. You need to love me so much that you hate your past life. That's by the way I would look at it.
It doesn't say anything. But it doesn't say.
Look into it some more.
It doesn't say anything about a past life, though.
But it does say you need to.
It does say that you need to hate.
I used to know how to quote this twice.
It does say that you need to hate your father, your mother, your children. Your children are not your past life. Your children are your future life.
Okay. Does it? So if you hate somebody, do you kill them?
Not necessarily.
Okay. Does that mean that?
There are a few people there are a few people that, based on their actions, that I absolutely hate. Doesn't mean that I want to kill them.
You probably would if you could. I mean, if it wasn't illegal, if it wasn't.
What you need to do is you need to look up the Dutch judicial system, because we don't kill people. First of all, we think that it's a useless way of punishment because it's an easy way out for any criminal. If you cut their life short, then there's no punishment. It's done. Second of all, we don't believe in long prison sentences either. We like to rehabilitate people so they can go back into society and can have a productive life that benefits everyone else. They get punishment, even if they kill people, they still get punishment, but they also get, if needed, mental help and resocialization, so they can change their mind about things and not go back to a life of crime. And you know what? And you know what happened when we started doing that? We got less criminals.
Crime went down. I think you told me about this already.
Yes. We have to rent out our prisons to Norway and Belgium because we don't have prisoners enough.
Well,
we don't
that
have
may
criminals.
be a good thing to do. I don't know. That might be a good thing to do.
I think it is a good thing to do.
And it may be. I mean, I don't know. It may certainly may be. And I hope it works out, because it sounds utopian to me. So I would love that if it really worked. I mean, how about a guy like Jeffrey Dahmer, who ate people? Would you let him out?
He would probably be under mental supervision for the rest of his life if he can't be cured. But if he can be cured, yeah, we would let him out. And Jen, I think we accept. I think the Netherlands accepts American refugees, and we might get a lot of them if they still can get a passport, because that seems to be a problem. Oh, and Jen with one N says Jeffrey Dahmer is in heaven right now. Is that a good punishment, do you think?
I don't know if he is or not. Could be.
He accepted Christ and became a Baptist.
Why do they know she's in?
He accepted Christ as his Lord and Savior and became a Baptist. My dog's ass is...
That's great. I hope he did.
Go ahead.
Maybe he did have a change. That's awesome.
So now does he? So now he doesn't need any punishment anymore? Do you think?
Well, that's a good question. I think that he should still be in jail.
Oh, he's dead. He's
but
dead.
As far as is he in heaven or not,
he's dead.
He might be. Well, I know. Somebody murdered him in prison, it sounds like. So, the way I think I heard it, somebody grabbed him and slammed his head up against the toilet and killed him.
I don't know.
That's what I heard it.
What I know for a fact, fact is that Kent Hovind took credit of converting Jeffrey Dahmer.
Oh, God.
Get out of town.
Yes.
Well, that's great. I mean, hey.
Is that great, though?
If he's converted,
is that great?
I mean, I got
okay, let me ask you a question. You and I have talked. I mean, Flynn's here. So we deserve to go to hell, and Jeffrey Dahmer deserves to go to heaven. Do you still think that the God you worship is a just God? I've never killed someone. I've never eaten someone. Have you, Flynn? I forgot to ask.
Not lately, no.
Thought about it. No, this is awesome. I mean, I love these kind of conversations, actually. So I think God sees sin the same. I mean, he even says that. Jesus says that like a small sin is no worse than a big sin. Yeah. So in that respect,
do you agree with that?
If he's decided to believe in Jesus, then
do you agree with that?
Well, yeah. I mean, just like you do. You believe. I
don't.
Because you think that if somebody's murdered, yes, you do.
No.
I'll tell you why you believe in it. So, in my opinion, I'll tell you why. So,
I'll prove you wrong. Go ahead.
In your opinion, if somebody kills somebody, sure. If somebody kills somebody in the Netherlands, and they get rehabilitated in 5, 10, 15 years, whatever it is, depending on maybe how the severity of their crime.
It depends on. Okay. No. It depends.
You let them out.
It depends. Hold on. It depends on whether or not the treatment works.
Well, sure, but still, you can't read a man's heart. So, yeah.
But so you think?
So personally,
hold on. You think that someone who has killed multiple people and has eaten some of them deserves the same punishment as a father who's out of work and is stealing a loaf of bread to feed his children?
Yeah.
They deserve the same punishment?
Same thing.
So
if Jesus, it's the same. A sin is a sin.
If you steal a loaf of bread, you should be, in some states in the United States, be put to death?
Yeah.
Hold on. Not all sins are the same, Craig. That's straight out of the Bible. The sin of killing yourself is worse, because killing yourself is the one thing for which you can't repent. And of course, the worst sin.
I disagree with that.
The worst sin of
all. I disagree,
all.
But go ahead.
You can disagree with it, but the Bible agrees with me.
Maybe.
Jesus.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
You made me laugh, and it made me lose my train of thought. Oh yeah, the one truly unforgivable sin, of course, is not believing in the first place.
Yeah.
Right. So all these
Okay.
other sins can be forgiven, except that one. Why does your silly God demand that I get on bended knee and worship this guy named Jesus, other than that he had a nice beard? Why? Why?
That's just the way he set it up. You know, I mean, we could go into that all the time of
But is
how.
it just?
I mean, and I didn't want to go into this. I don't want to go into this study, but you know, we could go into atheists killed millions of people in the 1900s. Millions.
Can you name?
You know,
As many as
and
God.
Christians haven't.
As many as
Hold on.
Yahweh.
I love that statement. Can you name one atheist who killed
Right.
one other person, just one, in the name of
Because
atheism?
Well, let's just say they weren't Christians then. Let's change the way you want to word it.
That's
They
not my
weren't- They
question.
weren't
That is not my
practicing
question.
Christians.
That is not my question. My question is,
Well,
can you
atheism is not really.
can you name one atheist who killed another person in the name of atheism?
Well, again, atheism is not a religion. It's a belief that you believe in nothing. So somebody
No,
believes
it's-
in nothing.
No,
That's
it
not
isn't.
that's not
No, it
atheism.
isn't.
That's
No,
not
it isn't.
atheism.
That's nihilism.
But so your answer is no, correct?
Well, no, because nobody says they walk around saying they're an atheist and killing people.
No, my question is specific. Can you name one atheist who killed
Sure.
another human being in the name of atheism?
No, not in the name
No.
of atheism. No.
Okay. So, should you ever visit me, I will take you on a short trip. It's a little over half an hour away from my house. And we can go to a church, and it has a very nice steeple, a very tall steeple. And to this day, there are cages hanging off of there from the last time they left atheists to rot in full view. So I can take you to a place where Christians killed atheists in the name of atheism. So just pointing out the difference between the two. An atheist is just one thing. It's one answer to one question. Do you believe in a God or gods? If the answer is no, you're an atheist. It doesn't mean that you know there is no God. It doesn't mean that you believe there is no God. You don't accept the God claim. That is it. If you tell me there is a God, then I will ask you for the evidence. If your evidence is lacking, I won't believe your claim. That is it. That's all it takes to be an atheist. Now, are there atheists who know that there is no God? Yes. I am an atheist who knows that the God of the Bible and Jesus are not real. And all I need to do to figure that out is read the Bible. Because if the Bible makes claims about God, and then God contradicts the claims that are made about him in the Bible, and Jesus does the same thing, then this God isn't real. If a God has attributes that makes him impossible for him to exist, he can't be real. According to the Bible, your God is all-knowing, and he's also all-powerful. That God is impossible. And I can have you answer whether or not that's the case. If your God knows that I'm going to die an atheist, that is the outcome. That's the final outcome. God knows the final outcome of everyone, right? Isn't that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So he knows the final
Yeah.
outcome. I'm going to die an atheist. What can you do to convert me to become a Christian?
That's not a real question.
That is a real question. If he's all powerful, he's capable of converting me, right? He can show me that Christianity is real. He's all powerful. He can do the only entity who could do that is God. But if he knows that I'm going to die an atheist, can he still show me that Christianity is real and convert me to become a Christian? Does he have that power?
That's my wife and I were just talking about that just the other day. And
it's an easy question.
That's a good question.
It's an easy question.
No, it's not.
He can't. He can't.
Well,
because if he can...
Well, that's not true. Yeah,
no, if he can, he's not all-knowing. And if he's all-knowing, he can't convert me. And this is the God of the Bible, contradicting himself. Such a God cannot exist.
I think he allows you to live your life, and that's your choice. And you're living it the way you want to, which we all want. The way you're living your life, we all want to do that. Because
that's a nice cop-out, which
Jesus said, nobody's good, no, not one.
So I am more powerful than your God.
Why is that copping out?
Well, it means that I'm true. It means that I'm more.
No, he lets he gives you free will, and you're choosing your will. I mean,
but at the same time, you said this earlier in the show. You can go back. You said he loves me, right?
Sure.
Okay. Does the Bible also said that God wants everyone to know him?
Mm-hmm.
So if he's the only one that can make that happen, is it then my fault that I don't believe in a God?
I don't know. Good
I'm
question.
waiting.
I mean, it's the same thinking.
If he's real, he can show me that he's real. He did that to you.
Well, he did me.
We had a question earlier from Iron Charioteer. So what if a Hindu farmer had the same experience as you have had? Would that make that the Hindu gods are all real?
I'm not going to believe that they are, but I suppose they could be. I mean, I don't believe they are.
So what was evidence for you? What made you accept the fact that the Christian God is real? That same evidence is not evidence for any other God.
Well, let's go back to Egypt, for instance.
No. The
Hebrews were in slavery.
Let's stick to the question. If you let's say the warts come back, and you do a quick test. You pray to one of the Hindu gods to take away your warts, and 2 months later they're gone. Are you then going to become a Hindu?
I would certainly consider it.
I have a good example of this, actually. I had a student some years ago, maybe 10 years ago, smart guy, really smart guy. And I don't know how we got onto this in class, because I don't generally discuss religion, but he said that for whatever reason, it came up in our conversation, that is the class's conversation, that he had a friend who was dying of cancer, and prayed and had others pray for him, and the cancer went away. He was healed. And the student said, his name was Chris. Chris said, that's proof that there is a God. And my reply was, does he have a favorite TV show? And he said, whatever it was, Seinfeld or whatever. And that he watched regularly. And Chris said, yeah, he likes whatever. And I said, how do you know that you shouldn't attribute his cancer going into remission to watching that TV show instead of believing in a God? And of course he said, well, there's no way to know. And there is no way to know.
Yeah.
I I have another
Well,
I have another
again,
question.
Again, we just go by.
That isn't what I was expecting.
I have another question,
Well,
Craig. I have another question from someone from the chat, someone that I like a lot, and we don't get to talk an awful lot. Neil the 604 atheist, which kind of gives away that he's an atheist. But anyway, does God have a plan for the world?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. So if God has a plan, then I don't have free will, because everything what happens will be happening according to God's plan. And if everything is not happening according to God's plan, that means that I am more powerful than God, because I can foil his plan. Correct?
Yeah, that's the way you're looking at it. But see, if he knows the end from the beginning, he already knows that you're going to foil his plan.
And he's not powerful.
And going back
and he's
to the
not
Egyptian
powerful.
thing, I was trying to.
And he's not powerful enough to stop me. Neil, don't go from one stream to another stream, because now I'm confused. Okay, good to have you, Neil.
Well, I was just going to say. Go ahead.
If God knows the end from the beginning, then I cannot have free will, because if God knows everything that is going to happen, there's nothing I can do to not make it happen.
Well, you're making it happen right now. Whatever you're making happen is happening right now, and you're making it happen.
Yes, but
so you're in charge of your own
salvation.
Seek out your own salvation with fear and trembling.
But the outcome's already set. There's nothing I can do to change the outcome.
I'd like to say the children of when they were in Egypt and they were under slavery.
Yeah, that never happened. There's no evidence. There's no evidence of any Hebrews being slaves in Egypt, and the Egyptians kept close records, so we know that didn't happen.
Well,
but I mean, who trusts the Egyptians? They completely missed the flood. They just kept on going and didn't even notice. On the other hand, I did notice something. We used to keep these to an hour and a half, and we're now at 2 hours and 15 minutes. So we need to wrap this up, because, funny enough, I do have another show in less than 2 hours. So I have to go and get ready for the other show, sadly enough. I do want you to come back, Craig.
Well, I've thoroughly enjoyed this, you guys. Thoroughly enjoyed this.
Yes.
I'm happy to. Yeah.
And I want you to come back, and I want you to come back with questions for us, if that is possible.
Yes.
You'd be the first. You'd be the first.
I got it.
You'd be the first to ask questions, to ask us hard questions about why we're atheists. But I really hope you will. You can decide. You can decide on the topic where you want to go with that, and you only tell us that the moment we are live, not before. So we can't prepare and have everything ready for you. Okay? Does that sound fair?
I'll do it. I'll do it the same way. I'll just wait till you get here. I mean, I may have some things in my mind, but I'm not going to write them down and stuff.
Okay. So great.
Can I give Craig some homework very quickly?
Well, let me get a pencil.
I think you'll be able to remember it.
Now,
this is tongue in cheek. This is tongue in cheek.
You don't know what it's like to be old yet. Okay.
Oh, yes, I do.
Yeah.
This is tongue in cheek, but have you ever considered? No, let's do it this way. Your homework is to pray to God to become a good speller.
You're awesome. I love it.
Because you are, as I think you would agree, you are like the worst speller on Twitter.
You know, so just real quick, 'cause I know we want to get off this line here. So you'd be shocked at the stuff I can do physically. I mean, when it comes to doing different sports, you'd be shocked at the stuff this old man can still do and do them well. And yet, I break glasses. I break glasses in the house all the time. I mean, why am I doing that? I mean, my wife just bought us 2 new sets of glasses because I broke all but 4 of the tumblers.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, why am I made that way that I just don't pay attention to that? But I know how to spell. I mean, that's not the issue. It's just that I don't pay attention to it. I mean, you and your, I mean, I don't know. That's just, they sound the same, so I don't pay much attention to it.
I think my favorite.
But you're
of
right.
I think my favorite of yours, and you've said it a few times, is you spell liar with an E instead of an A, which is
I know it.
to be honest, and
Yeah.
your behavior here kind of solidifies this for me. I mean that in a good way. You are.
In all fairness, can I come to Craig's rescue for a second, Flynn? Did you know that the man who invented autocorrect, did you know that he died?
No.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about him.
Yeah, his fun fair is going to be next monkey.
You're over my head on that one. Say that again. His fun fair is next monkey.
Yes. He died.
His funeral is next Monday, but it's spelled wrong.
He's the inventor of autocorrect.
Oh, his funeral's next monkey. Oh, I gotcha. Next monkey.
Yeah, his fun fair is next monkey.
That is funny. Yeah.
Okay. I really want to wrap it up.
Grandpa.
Craig,
that's a dad joke.
last words are for you.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I don't know. I don't have any last words really. Just that.
Hopefully not, because we want you to come back.
I still feel God is real, and I feel I still. Yeah. Oh, I'm happy to come back. And I feel like God speaks directly to all of us, and it's just a question of, are we going to listen to him? So that's my last few words.
Okay. Well, I had fun doing this. This was a pleasure. Every single show where we don't end up in a big dumpster fire, to me is a win, because I see that a lot on atheists talking to
you'll never see that with me,
and I really don't like that. Flynn, thanks a lot for being my co-host.
It's your guys' fault, not mine.
Yeah,
it was fun. It always is.
Okay, so, and the final word we will give to a young Earth creationist, and that is obviously the one who is sponsoring our channel. So don't forget to like and subscribe and listen to what this Christian has to say to you. Oh.
Our visitors watched almost 18 million minutes of our videos on YouTube. I'm telling you, praise God. Can you imagine that? I want to say a big thank you to all of our YouTube subscribers and all of our partners. Now listen, if you have not subscribed to a YouTube channel, do it right now. Do it today. And all you have to do is click the big red subscribe button. Be sure to share our channel with your family and with friends, because it takes all of us working together to spread the word